Brief announcement before we convene the case. I'm hoping to, not I'm hoping, but we are supposed to start Chins on Tuesday. And Michael Kelly, he was the attorney that, he actually did the Roberts case that pointed to the evidence that you guys already read. And then you'll be reading for next week the Angela and Hillary cases. He's a great guy, great attorney. He is supposed to, you never know, he's supposed to be coming to speak to you about Chins. So depending on where, I said, I just, we have a lot of people who testify today, so let's see what we can do to finish up. Worst case scenario, we can't finish up, and Mike comes on Tuesday, we'll backtrack and finish this on Thursday. Or if Mike doesn't show up, in any event, depending on where we are at today, I would like you guys to at least do some reading for Chins, so you'll, when Mike does come to speak to you, even if we haven't finished this piece, at least you'll know what he's talking about. You can ask him questions and whatnot. So do the Chins reading for Tuesday, regardless of if we don't finish the hearing today, okay? Any questions? By the way, I just noticed the front office was doing the final exam schedule, and we're on a Wednesday, something like the 16th of May, whatever that Wednesday is, mid-May. And remember that because it's the online class, that's at 6 p.m., not at 1. So don't show up at 1 saying, ready to take the final, can't find anyone. So it'll be at 6 o'clock. I'm not sure what, the larger classrooms. So just so you know ahead of time. They're going to post it or whatever they do. I think they post it on the MS Law website at some point. Okay. When they'll post it, I don't know. They were just going through the dates in the front office as I was walking through. Okay.
Like that last week of exams?
If anybody has a calendar, take a look at your calendar.
Yeah.
Is Wednesday the 16th?
Wednesday the 16th.
Okay, then that's the date. Unless it changes, but that's what I just saw.
It has to. I'm flying out the next day.
Where are you going, Mark?
Visit my son in California.
All right. Where's my clerk, Tanya?
Yes.
You can do it from there if you want.
Okay.
No, you have to. You're going to call the case. Court in session. I'm looking to the DCF attorneys.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're going to put a witness.
Put Carol Applebaum back on.
Okay.
Karen.
What did I say?
Karen.
Sorry.
So, let me remind you that
It's a senior moment.
Only your client.
I'll remind you that you're still under oath. Okay.
All right.
And counsel, all DCF counsel that needs to question Ms. Applebaum, let's limit it to 10 minutes tops, okay?
Just to reiterate, what was your role with the DCF and Sissy?
I'm a social worker. I was assigned to Sissy as her social worker after she became pregnant.
So
I
you
worked with her from that period until now.
Okay. Are you directly involved with the Boston Children's Services?
Yes.
Okay. And who took the position of Sissy as far as foster care?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Who did the Boston Children's Services assign the foster care of Sissy to?
I mean, what families was Sissy with?
Yes, after she gave birth to because we discussed that yesterday, that she was already giving birth. And at this time, you were coming into the picture. Where did you place Sissy's after the babies were born?
Sissy has been placed in a foster home as well as her children in separate foster homes. Sissy is in Bill Ricker.
Okay. Well, she was, prior to giving birth though, she was involved with a program that you were involved with?
Yes, she was in a program for pregnant young women to teach them parenting skills, run by Crittenden Hastings in Brighton. And at that time, she was living in the home of her grandmother.
How was she performing with the parenting skills?
I'm sorry.
How well was she responding to the lessons on parenting skills?
She found it very difficult to understand what was required of her as a parent, which was the basis, part of the basis for the decision that she would not be a fit parent for these infants.
What was your strike?
Could you strike the last part of that?
Yes, so straight.
When the children were born, they were removed from her immediately, so she never was able to, was she ever able to properly show that she could parent those children?
Objection.
What's your objections?
Leaving. It's a whole series.
Did she have,
What?
okay.
Wait, I'm thinking,
Well,
counsel.
Yeah, just with
Can
the
I
case.
have a moment? And let's go up the record. Why do you want to ask that?
I'm trying to determine whether she had any opportunity to spend time with her
Now
children.
remember, this is a worker, so just like the other worker, you want to ask in terms of what the services. And also, this is a witness that knows facts. So it's facts that you want her to be able to tell this court about, not conclusions. Facts, observations. I make the conclusions. She is, I granted the statute does say, you know, that the social worker as well as the GAL and the investigator, they're qualified experts and so forth, so there is a little bit of a muddiness there. But for the most part, it's facts. You know, she knows Sissy. She's known Sissy from when she was pregnant until now. She's observed probably sessions where Sissy has, so instead of you asking for the conclusion about parenting, and soon you can make up these facts. You know, you observe Sissy, you know, with the twins on a, whatever it was, a monthly basis, a bi-weekly basis, you know, what particular observations did you make? And she's gonna say something like, well, she didn't know how to use the bottle, or, you know, whatever, you know, some facts that, again, will lead to the inference, to the conclusion that, you know, Sissy's having, you know, had problems. Does that make sense to you guys, DCF attorneys? All right, anybody ready? Amy, ask the next question.
You said that she was, you just testified that she was put into one foster home and her siblings were at a separate foster home. Can you explain why the children were separated?
From the mother? Why they
No,
were
from
not
each
all-
other.
No, the children are in a foster home together. Sissy-
All three are together?
Oh, we're talking about not, we're not
Oh,
talking
right,
about.
right. You're right.
You're-
Sorry.
Counselor.
Sorry.
Counselor is a little confused.
Got a little confused. I'm back on track. What prompted you to remove the twins from, what prompted BCS to remove the twins from the family? From her?
Well, it was never, they were never removed, Sissy never had, immediately, the twins were immediately placed in foster care. So Sissy was never parenting the children.
Okay, and
So that decision was made immediately.
what kind of behavior was she exhibiting that would prompt them not to allow her to have her children?
Sissy during the program, Sissy was unable to, she wasn't interacting successfully with the counselors, nor was she amenable to criticism or instructions about how she could improve her behavior and her parenting skills. So on the basis of the reports of the instructors who felt that she was not functioning correctly, we moved that the children should not be placed with her at all.
And prior to, did she continue going to parenting school classes after the children were born?
No.
Okay, and prior to that, she attended regularly
School?
to to this parenting class?
No, oh, well, I mean, I can't really speak to that because I came
Okay.
into the situation, but from what I have been told, no, her record has been erratic at best through her entire life of, education.
Did Sissy have a place to live,
At what point?
from the birth of her daughters onward?
She was placed in a foster home. She is also in a foster home in Bill River.
Do you have any information as to why she was removed, or not, do you have, why was she removed from the great-grandmother and placed into a foster home at that time?
Yes, because the great-grandmother felt as if she could not emotionally handle Sissy any longer, and Sissy wanted, there were arguments, because Sissy wanted to move in with the two children, with the twins, and the great-grandmother could not deal.
And this, hold on, this was at the point when Sissy was pregnant and ready to give birth?
Yes, yes.
And what was the foundation for?
What, I'm sorry, you,
Oh,
what are you
it's all
objecting to?
hearsay. It's all-
Okay, can the judge ask the question?
No, but before that,
Before that, what was?
she said the grandmother felt.
Okay, yeah, I'll strike that
The
answer.
grandmother told me,
Objection.
but I, what did I say?
Wait, you're not counsel. She said the grandmother told her.
Your Honor,
Does
she-
TC
as a-
ever have
as
an
a-
offer? Can she testify about that?
Yes, as the mandated reporter and the first party to hear the information, she's allowed to tell us what she was told as to the basis as to why she was removed, why she could not care for the child.
Counsel Joe, you brought it up first.
It's a termination hearing. There's limitations on hearsay for termination. Care and protection, you're allowed to have all this hearsay information.
Well, that's not the reason why, but I'm gonna sustain. And we'll withdraw that question, the answer. We'll strike that out of the
What's
answer.
the correct objection?
It's hearsay, there's no exception. She's talking about the grandmother, grandmother's not a party. It'd be different if she learned things as a result, rather than grandmother. She could have said it a different way, rather than grandmother said.
May I rephrase?
Yeah, grandmother wasn't feeling well enough to care for the children. And you know that because you're offering services to give the social worker in charge, but, so, anyway. Let's do cross-examination, just because of time. And we have, the cross-examination, we did Joe, Ed, Geneva. Attorneys for the children can also cross. Uma, Ahmed, Stephanie, Stephanie's not here, Tanya. You wanna start? Okay. And limited just to, this is cross-examination, you know what she knows, basically. All you wanna get her to do is to say yes or no, to admit to the things that are positive for your client.
Right.
You already know me.
All right, go ahead.
You testified that you took the children immediately after they were born. The Department of Children and Families took the children immediately after they were born. Is that correct?
I object to the word took. I would rather say placed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
These children weren't abandoned by Sissy, were they?
Emotionally or physically?
It's a yes or no question.
No.
They were never neglected by Sissy.
She didn't have the opportunity to.
It's a yes or no question.
Well, I think that the answer is no, I think it was intended.
Granted my question. Your Honor, you please instruct her to answer my question.
I'll instruct you not be so aggressive with the witness.
Sissy has tried to maintain contact with the children since they were born. Is that correct?
Yeah, Sissy would like to maintain contact with the children, yes.
She has never been informed of conditions that she has to remedy, has she?
Yes, she has.
What are they?
The conditions are, the department has to feel that she not only is physically capable of taking care of the children and living in suitable housing, but that her emotional state is solid enough that these children wouldn't be in any kind of danger.
And have you developed any plan to help this, to help make this happen?
There have been service plans that have been formulated prior to this. There was a service plan.
So you had a service plan that included the children that was created before she gave birth to them?
Well, we knew she was pregnant.
Yes, but you have a service plan that would help her.
The took into consideration, yes.
And what, and.
Well, hold on a second. A question and then an answer. A question and then an answer. It's not a conversation.
Yes.
You've not observed any physical abuse that Sissy has committed on children?
No, yes, I have.
On her children?
Well, may I qualify that answer, Your Honor? As far as physical abuse?
If you need to answer it, you just said there was physical abuse. What physical abuse?
I would contend that physical abuse is when she has had visitation with the children. She does not respond to their cries correctly. She is unable to discern that they have a filthy diaper and need it to be changed. She is unable to discern that they are hungry or tired. I would categorize that as physical abuse when you are dealing with infants.
Thank you.
Off the record, this should have been her testimony on direct.
Correct, right.
Okay, let's assume that it was. And you wouldn't have asked that question.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Sissy doesn't abuse drugs, does she?
I had kind of the
Do you have any
answer.
knowledge of,
No.
Sissy abusing drugs? Do you have any knowledge of her abusing alcohol?
I have no knowledge.
Do you have any knowledge that she has any mental deficiencies?
Yes, I do.
And you have no knowledge of her having neglected other children?
No.
Do you? Co-counsel?
Come on.
Is the overall goal of DCF to reunite families?
Yes.
Is that goal different for Sissy and her children?
Yes.
Is taking children from 16-year-old parents a common practice for the Department of Children?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I wouldn't say common, I would say.
Excuse me, are you for DCF or are you the guardian ad litem?
I'm for DCF, I'm the social
I
worker.
thought the facts say that the DCF wants to keep the kids.
No, we're separate.
We're separate.
But he asked me if it's a common practice, if it's a goal of the department to keep children. Of course it is. Right.
Continue.
Okay, so the department in this case has created an exception to reunification.
I think there are always exceptions. Each case is judged on its own merits. When you say an exception, every case is an exception.
Has the department already moved for adoption of Sissy's children?
Yes.
So if we're moving for adoption so quickly, is there any chance of reunification?
In this case, that's not up to me.
Aren't you recommending adoption?
I would say that the ultimate goal of the department is as it is for everyone dealing with juveniles, is the best interest of the children.
You just told me the goal for the department was reunification.
If that is in the best interest of the children.
Facts. Again, I have to caution you all to ask the witness about what she knows, not conclusions that this court could reach. I know being law students, you want to ask the legal questions, but it's not the legal questions of the witnesses that you should be asking. So for example, one question that I would ask you is, you're providing services to Sissy regarding her children, correct?
We did provide services to Sissy.
Are you providing visitation
Yes.
for her children? How often are you providing visitation?
Once a week.
And so you placed Sissy, a 16-year-old child who I'm assuming doesn't have a license or doesn't have the means of a car, in Billerica, while you placed her children in Lynn or something like that?
Quincy.
Quincy, correct? Right. So, I mean, that sets up, it's facts. And they're looking really bad because in spite of the, and we know the goal is adoption, you don't need to ask her that. But in spite of that, until her kids actually get adopted, the DCF still has not only the goal, but the responsibility to keep up the services for the family. And so they should be providing visitation, and if they weren't, council would have been bringing, use of discretion motions and whatnot. So let's let you go.
You can ask me how we provide.
That's okay, bye-bye. We're gonna move on. Mark, I told you that you would be calling, I believe, Sandy next, the investigator, and then Leslie, the GAL. But remember that even though DCF is calling these professionals, they're subject, you guys are subject to cross-examination from all parties. So you can ask leading questions, DCF, Child's Counsel, Parents Counsel of Sandy and of Leslie. So Sandy's gonna be next, Tanya swear her in. What?
As a
question?
guardian ad litem, I just wanna know, am I for,
It
who's
was on your
guardian ad litem?
assignment.
For the kids, for the twins?
You're recommending termination.
I know, but am I the guardian ad litem for the twin babies or for Sissy?
You're the guardian ad litem that the court has appointed. Your best interest guardian ad litem, you're recommending termination.
It would
Okay.
be for.
Right, so but does that mean, what I'm saying, is it for Sissy or is it for the twins?
It doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, all right, you're for the
Yeah.
kids then,
Yeah.
you're for her
For the
kids.
babies, right?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
The babies.
I thought it's Ahmed asking
Thank you.
the question also.
What's the matter?
I thought it was Ahmed asking the question.
No, Ahmed was gonna do it the other day when Leslie was on.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
he
okay.
did. So it's
Okay, I
Leslie.
got confused.
All right, we ready? Okay.
So that's-
Yeah.
Would the court-appointed investigator be an adverse witness for DCF?
Possibly, you know, it depends on how the questioning progresses. All right. Go ahead, you call her, Amy. The department calls.
Department calls board appointed investigator, Sandy, Elise Elisier.
Swear in.
I have a question.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Why,
Wait, stop a second.
I have a question, why are we, asking her to come up as, we're not doing direct on her, but she's
No,
opposing
she's subject to cross-examination from all of the parties.
Okay.
The department's
So
called
we're
her.
assuming she's already been
She's the
directed.
investigator that was
Okay.
appointed, so.
By the point. So the whole issue doesn't be the truth.
Yes, I do.
Can you please state your role with this case?
I'm a court-appointed investigator
Okay, how long have you been involved with the case?
since the beginning.
Okay, so approximately what age was Cece when you were assigned?
16. Probably younger, 9, sorry.
Stop for a second.
Yeah, she's
No,
court-appointed.
you would have been appointed when the care protection case started regarding the Sissy's children. This is the care
Which is when the
protection case
twins were born.
of the twins, okay?
Okay, what efforts were made to get education for Sissy? What efforts did you find were made to improve Sissy's parenting skills?
She was put into a parenting class to learn how to be a parent.
Did she attend those classes regularly?
Yes, she did.
When is she continuing to attend those classes?
After she had the twins, she stopped.
Did she provide any reason or rationale as to why she stopped?
No.
Were there any other family members to come forward to take care of the twins?
No.
Amy, you know the answer, so you could ask the leading questions.
Oh, I can,
Remember, it's
I'm on cross now,
cross-examination.
okay, good.
Yeah, and it's better, you know, that's the
Figures,
point.
because I wrote them out the other way. Yeah.
Short question, short answer.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, the decision to remove the twins, do not give her any custody of her twins was based on her aggressive behavior. Is that true? That she was showing outward signs of aggressive behavior?
Yes.
What effort, is it true that service plans were put in place to get her counseling and proper education, to complete her education?
Yes.
Is it true that she did not comply with these service plans?
Yes.
mentioned that she had no interest in doing any further improvement of herself?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Did she make any progress, have any kind of?
Let me just intervene for a moment. So Sissy was 16 when she gave birth, correct?
Correct.
And she was in the department's custody at the time.
Correct.
And before she gave birth, while she was pregnant, she was living at Kristen home, is that correct?
Correct.
At the time that she gave birth, there were really no plans on Sissy's part for her and her children, correct?
Correct.
So, do you see where I'm going with this, Amy? See opportunities? I mean, ultimately, her opinion goes against you, but she did investigate the facts. And again, you want to impress upon the court that Sissy today is not only, currently unfit, but it also might be it's also in the best interest of the little twins that they be free for adoption. So, she knows all of those facts. And there are a lot of negative facts that are positive for the department, and you want to get her to admit to those. Let's switch off and do cross-examination. Somebody from children's, Ahmed, Tanya, ask a question. Try. Go ahead, Tanya, you try.
Yes, I have a question. So, when Sissy started to...
I can't hear you.
When Sissy started to attend the parenting class as she was pregnant, did you agree that her intention was to get better and keep the children?
Yes.
Good. Ahmed, you ask one.
I'm not sure.
Umar?
I think basically everything has been asked. I don't know what same. I can repeat the same question. I don't know.
All right. Good, Ahmed.
Do you recommend that Sissy keeps her children?
I can't hear you.
Do you recommend that Sissy keeps her children?
You don't want to ask that. You don't want to ask that. This is the investigator that, yes, she,
Why is that?
You don't want to ask that.
The attorneys.
what's that?
It would have been stricken from the report if the attorney did their job.
Yeah,
The court
yeah,
investigator
yeah,
can't
yeah.
make recommendations. The GAL can give a recommendation, but the court investor can't. Court investigator is all about the facts.
Yeah,
But she would have
so,
talked to
yeah.
all of the parties. Court investigator would have talked to, and the court
And
investigator
that's what
can
she-
talk about that.
You know the facts. She knows the facts that infer.
And she's recommending reunification for some reason.
Exactly.
So you know that's her position, so you want to try to bring to the surface, what did she see, what did she hear, what did she read, what did, what did somebody say that would tell her?
And even though she may have heard, secondhand from, she can identify her sources, and that's why she's here to be cross-examined. Okay?
Could I ask a
So she talked to Sissy. She talked to Sissy's great-grandmother. She's talked with the social workers. She's talked with the places where Sissy is staying.
And hearsay's not an issue with her, correct?
Yeah. So Joe, what kinds of questions would you ask as
I want to
counsel?
know if you learned anything about her relationship with her sisters.
So can you phrase it in such a way that?
Could you describe any information you learned about her relationship with her sister?
In talking with the grandmother and Sissy, I found out that her relationship was very good with her sisters. She was close in taking care of them, was really good at, not being a parent, I wouldn't say, but, you know, she took care of their needs because they were younger.
Did you know anything about how the separation affected her from her sisters?
Yes, she was distraught. You know, she seemed, she didn't understand. She had a lot of confusion of why she was separated from her sisters. You know, she has a lot of prior abandonment issues from her father, from her mother's issue, and, you know, taking her away from her sisters caused a lot of anxiety and frustration because of her not understanding why.
Did you make any observations of her interactions with her children, the twins?
Yes.
Could you describe those for us?
Yeah, when she visited, which was very infrequent because of the distance, when she did visit, she tried to be the best parent that she can be. But again, she didn't have a lot of training and she didn't have a lot of role models in order to learn that.
Is it fair to say that with more training and more services from the department, that Sissy could learn some of those essential parenting skills?
Yes, I do.
What are Sissy's children's names? If you know.
Sarah and Susie.
No, they're not.
Carol Sandy.
Cindy.
Carol Sandy.
I did. Oh my God, that's horrible. I didn't. Yeah, Sandy. You're Caroline.
And what
No,
are her
that's her
sisters?
sister. That's her
Carol and
sister.
Cindy. And what are her sisters' names?
That's her sister's name. Did you ask me her sister's?
No, first I asked her what her children's, did I say her sisters' names?
That's what I said.
Children.
Oh, I thought.
Okay, so I had two questions for you.
I'm
What are her
sorry.
sisters' names and what are her daughters' names? I'm sorry. I meant to ask both those in succession, either way.
That's right, when I said the two names, right? Susie and Sarah.
No.
Yeah. I thought they were all-
Carol and Sandy.
No, that's the
Carolyn and
sister's name.
Sandra, the
Those are the
sisters.
twins.
No, she's two
The
younger
sisters
sisters,
are
Carolyn and
And
Sandy.
Sandra.
Yes, that's what I
Carolyn and
said.
Sandra.
Yes.
The
Sisters.
twins are
I said
Carol
she
and
gave-
Sandy.
She gave the babies very similar names.
Yeah, they look alike.
All right, we can move on. I'm sorry. I meant to make a point with that. I tried.
No, right.
Thank you.
Any more cross-examination questions for the investigator,
Right.
Mark?
After Sissy moved to a foster home after giving birth, right? Yes, no?
Yes,
And she has not attended any education program since then.
correct.
And the McKinley School held an emergency meeting at that point. And this school is they recommended a .5 private special education program.
Correct.
And that's the next level below basically going to a mental ward. Well, isn't that what you had explained it to me the other day?
No.
Well, basically. All right, I was misinformed.
Miss Alicia, in the course of your investigation, you've spoken with Carla Harrison, correct?
Yes.
And Carla Harrison has informed you that she would be ready, willing, and able to take in not only Sissy but her children, correct?
Correct.
And you've spoken with Sissy as well, correct?
Correct.
And Sissy herself, and Sissy also has indicated that she thought that would be a good plan for herself and her children,
Correct.
and that she would, her grandmother would help and, assist her to take care of her children while Sissy continued her schooling.
Correct.
And I know that you didn't deal with the family initially, but that you did look at Sissy's history, correct?
Yes.
And for the most part, during the times that she lived with her grandmother, Sissy did pretty much, she did go to school, not as often, but much more often than when she was in foster homes, correct?
Yes.
You can step down.
Thank you.
Okay, call the GAL now. That's Leslie.
All right. DC, department calls the council calls the Gabrielle Lyden, please.
Time to swear in.
Do you swear?
Raise your right hand.
What was your whole hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, or the truth?
So help me God.
I didn't say so. In case you don't believe in God.
We don't have to invoke that.
You swear?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Are we going
Yeah,
now?
why don't you?
How was Sissy's financial ability to care for her twins during her pregnancy?
I couldn't hear you.
How was her financial ability to care for the twins before and after she gave birth?
Sissy has very little ability to care financially for her children at this point. She receives assistance from the Department of Families and Assistance, which gives her the basis, the minimum, to take care of her children as well as some food stamps.
Does she have a job?
What are you objecting? Are you asking her to withdraw the answer?
Well, I'm objecting because of relevancy. Financial concerns aren't supposed to be someone not having money is not supposed to be a concern.
Counsel?
What do you want?
Where are you going with this?
Oh,
I'm gonna allow it. I want to hear it.
okay. Did she have a job before and after the pregnancy?
Sissy has never had a job, no.
So these limited means were affecting her ability to care for the child?
Yes, that was one of the issues, just one.
Did she have any mental problems before and after she gave birth?
Well, we don't usually call them mental problems, but Sissy has indeed had issues since she was young, due to the way that she was brought up by a drug-addicted mother, abused by her father. Sissy has been exposed to domestic violence and drug abuse and has not had a good role model for a parent since she was born. That's our concern.
Yeah. Honor, I move to strike.
We strike most of it, yeah.
Most of it. It's not responsive or?
It wasn't responsive.
Okay.
Did she also make any suicidal statements after she gave birth?
Sissy has made suicidal statements. However, she was evaluated and found not to be at risk for harming herself at this time.
Would you say she's mentally stable at this time?
No, I would not say that she's mentally stable.
Objection.
Are you objecting to that? You're objecting that. I figured you were doing that, and I would have sustained the objection to the question.
I don't have any.
Ed? Want to present Sam?
Just not sure where to go.
Okay. Who wants to ask a question? Joe?
No, if you have any questions,
I can't just say my
No.
recommendation.
I'm in.
no, that's it.
All right.
Um,
You can step down if the
I was gonna ask you, can I ask a question like, what would you,
Ask it.
what would be a recommendation?
Objection.
Well, at some point that would have been in her report. We don't have enough sort of the groundwork to lead up to that. Is that really gonna help us in terms of where we are right now? Yeah, we know what her recommendation is, but you would obviously wanna hear more of what she's done, what she's observed, who she's talked to, etc. In the interest sort of time and everything, I'm gonna have her step down and have the department rest, okay? All right, department's interesting.
Kids' attorneys wouldn't really want to have her talk about that, though,
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
It would just be, the
Exactly.
department would be the one who would wanna be
Yeah.
talking about what she
Yeah, and
learned,
the
what she
reasons
learned, and the
so
reasons
forth.
for her opinion. But, you know, everybody else would want to be quiet.
Exactly. All right, so, either Joe or Ed can call Ms. Harrison. Do I have the name
We're
wrong?
both Harrison, we're both Harrison.
Oh, you want?
Miss, I meant you when I said Miss Harrison, rather than Sissy, I'm sorry.
The old one.
And Sissy will be last. So Tanya, you want to swear her
I'm
in?
not that old, thank you. Yeah, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth.
I do. Just trying to keep up with myself.
Could you say your name for the record?
My name is Carla Harrison.
What is your relationship with Sissy?
I'm her great-grandmother.
Calling your attention to the, I'm sorry. Did Sissy come to be in your custody at some point?
She certainly did.
How long did she live with you?
Oh, she lived with me for a couple years now. Would have had her live with me longer if I could have. I'd like her to live with me right now.
And who else lived with you when Sissy first came to your house?
Oh, it was just me and Sissy.
And her sisters?
And her sisters.
You forgot initially, way back. She had them all
Such a
first.
long time.
Calling your attention to the first time that Sissy lived with you, could you describe her relationship with her sisters?
Oh, she loved her sisters very much. She used to watch over them just like a mama hen. She would make sure that they brushed their teeth at night before they went to bed. She would read them stories, and she would watch them when they were out in the yard, making sure they didn't go too close to the street. And oh, she loved those girls. Oh, it broke her heart when she couldn't be with them anymore. That was just awful.
And how long did Sissy live with you this first time that she was there? Just a year.
She lived with me about 2 years then.
And what happened that this her staying with you ended?
Oh, I wasn't feeling so good. I had to go to the hospital. I wished that I had been able to have her stay with me, but I didn't feel good.
What happened to her after you got out of the hospital?
Oh, it was awful. It was just awful. Them state people, they took her and they put her in place after place. The girl was so deprived of any love. I hardly got to see her. She couldn't go to school. Oh, it was just awful. And she had to go into this home where all these kids were living and no parents whatsoever.
You're all afraid to object?
You know, they wouldn't only let me see her like once a month. It was terrible, that poor little girl.
And what happened to her sisters at this time?
Well, those state people, they decided that they needed to have a whole nother family. And they took them right away and put them with some other people, and Sis didn't get to see them, and neither did I.
And after you got out of the hospital, did these state people make any attempt to reunify the family?
Oh, no, not for a while, not for a while. Eventually, they came around to my way of thinking and let Sissy come on back home. But it took a real long time for that to happen.
And at this point, was it just Sissy that came back to live with you?
Yes, because they took those sisters.
And do you have any questions that Joe can cover?
I don't.
All right, cross-examination. Department. Amy, Elaine? Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Go ahead, counsel. Go ahead.
Have you had any interactions with state
Sissy since the babies have been born?
Oh, I sure have. I visit her as often as I can.
And could you describe any plan that you'd be willing to be a part of in terms of?
Oh, absolutely. I would love Sissy to come home with me and bring those beautiful little babies that she loves with all her heart, and we could be together as a family.
Can you help her raise children?
Oh, absolutely. Nothing would make me happier than to be all together with my family. Those beautiful girls.
Thank you, ma'am.
Who wants to cross-examine?
Mrs. Harrison,
Yes.
why is it, if you're so interested in having them home with you, that you weren't petitioning for custody yourself?
I'm sorry.
Why aren't you asking for custody of the grandchildren? Of the twins?
I've been telling those state people that I want them all to come to my home.
And have they?
Well, the state people won't let them come to my home.
Have
I
they?
want them all to come, but they won't let them. They say they can't do that.
Why
I
won't
don't
they? Is your home not safe?
My home is fabulous. There's nothing wrong in my home.
Have they inspected your home?
I don't believe so.
You have asked them to come?
I've asked them to come to my home. I've asked for meetings. I've asked for those beautiful little children to come to my home and my great-granddaughter. And those state people, they just won't let them.
And when you had custody of Sissy years ago, what illness befell you?
Oh, it was my heart.
So your heart isn't strong now.
Oh, no, I'm better now.
But-
I went in and the doctors, they fixed me all up and they say I'm just fine. I see my doctor and they tell me I'm doing
And
just
how old are
fine.
you now as a great
I'm
grandmother?
76 now, sir.
So if you were to take infants home now that are 6 months old, you could live another 20 years and take care of them?
Yes, sir, I could. You should see how old my mama lived too. She was 90.
Yes or no question, just yes or no answers, man.
I'll pass on.
I am finished with this witness. Anyone else?
She's finished with you.
Anybody else want to try? Miss Harrison, it's possible though that you could be hospitalized again, correct? It is possible.
Well, ma'am, I mean, yeah, you know, of course, sure, but my doctors tell me that I'm doing just fine.
True, but if you were and Sissy and the children were living with you, it would be awfully difficult for Sissy to take care of the two children by herself.
Well, now, I'm not sure about that. Now, she hasn't had a chance to take care of those
That's true,
beautiful
but she's only
babies.
16, so she would
Well,
be
that's
going to
true.
school, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Well, yeah, she's young, but you know, I was pretty young when I had my babies, and you know, that was okay.
So right now, Sissy pretty much only has you, there's no one else,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am, unfortunately, yes.
Thank you. You could step down, I think. So, could we let her step down?
No.
Push her.
Push her up.
Could you tell the court, please, where your baby is at this time?
Oh, God rest her soul. She died as a young woman. That's why I
Isn't
think
she in prison?
my poor
No, she's
Lorraine-
great-grandmother.
That's why I think my poor Lorraine had such a difficult time because she lost her mom at such an early age.
More questions?
Let her go.
Oh my God, she's taking care of you there.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
All right. Terms counsel.
Call Sissy this time?
Swear her in, Tanya.
Sissy, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Can you please state your name to the court?
Sissy Harrison.
Sissy, can you describe the relationship that you had with your sisters when you were still in the care of your mother?
I loved my sisters. They were my best friends.
When you and your sisters had been removed, at that time, do you know why it was happening?
My mom wasn't a very good person, and she had done some things, and so, she went to jail. So, I was placed in a foster home.
Sissy, can you just raise your voice a little bit?
I was placed in a foster home because my biological mother went to prison.
When you were removed, did you have any sort of emotional issues at that time?
Well, I wasn't exactly happy about losing my mother, but I was happy to still be with my sisters.
Who, if anyone, tried to explain to you while you and your sisters had been separated to different homes?
The social separate homes?
Yes.
The social worker.
At that time, did you understand why let's start there. How often did you visit with your sisters?
I wasn't able to visit with them.
Sissy, what is your level of education?
I've been going to school, so I'm in 10th grade now.
Can you tell the court what the word neglect means to you?
Neglect, it means to that would be what my mother did to me.
Can you describe the sort of neglect you may have received from your parents?
They didn't pay me any attention, and my father abused me physically.
Can you tell us what could have been done differently by your parents to prevent that neglect?
They could have been loving, nurturing parents and not physically or mentally abuse me.
Joe?
Since your daughters have been born, have you spent much time with them?
I haven't been able to because I was placed in Brookline and Billerica. I apologize, and my children were placed 40 miles away, and when they
Have you expressed your interest in having your children with you?
every day.
And have you expressed your interest in having your plan of living with your grandmother with your children?
Every day.
And what type of relationship would you like to have with your children?
I would like to have a relationship that I never had. I'd like to have a relationship that my great-grandmother and I have with my children. I'd like to put my children to bed every night. I'd like to be the first person they see in the morning when they wake up. I'd like to bring them to the park.
Has the Department of Children and Families done anything to help get you prepared to be a parent?
No, they've done the exact opposite. They haven't given me the opportunity to be with my children, or, when my children were born, they traumatized me and they took my babies from me. And I didn't even do anything wrong, and I don't understand why they did that.
And where do they have you going to school now?
I'm in residential treatment,
But you're living in Billerica.
40 miles away from my friends.
That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Harrison, just before cross-examination, I have a couple of questions. So, how old are your children now?
My babies are 9 months.
And you've been seeing them approximately, at the least, every month, correct?
When DSS will take me to see them, yes.
Do you love them?
Absolutely.
Could you describe your children to me?
Well, I don't really, unfortunately, because of what DSS has done, I don't really know my children the way that a mother should know their children. They're 9 months old. One weighs about 18 pounds. That's
Which one?
Sandy. And Carol is a little bit smaller. She was the smallest of the babies when they were born. She weighs about 15.
What are their personalities like?
They're, when I'm with them, I feel that they're happy.
Are their personalities different from each other?
Yes.
Could you describe
They are.
one by one?
It seems that Sandy seems to be more demanding when she wants her bottle. She wants it right then and there. Whereas Carol, she's a little bit more laid back and she's not as fussy or as demanding as Sandy can be. And I tell them apart because one has a bump on their head and one doesn't.
Which one?
Sandy.
Do you know how she was bump?
She was born with a hematoma, but the doctor says that it will go away.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Can I ask one question?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Oh, why did you give them the names that you gave?
Objection.
I have.
Wait, there's an objection? What? Why?
What's the names of important?
It's very important.
So,
I believe
Your
you
Honor.
should, Your Honor, could I have some
But
words?
what's the basis of the objection?
I'd
As to
like-
lie in something?
It's irrelevant to the situation that's going on. It's
It-
irrelevant.
You're saying that relevancy, what
I
do you
believe
say?
it is relevant, and if you would allow her to answer the question, I think it would become apparent.
Okay. Overruled.
I was separated from my sisters. It's hard. This is hard. My sisters were named Carolyn and Sandra, and I miss them every day. And not a moment goes by that I don't think about them, or that a day goes by that I don't think about them. They were the only family that I had aside from my great grandmother, and they were taken from me. So when I had my baby girls, I wanted to give them a name that would make me feel close to my sisters.
Thank you. I finished with direct examination. Oh, cross-examination. Amy?
Chrissy, Sissy, is it true that you refused to go to school throughout your earlier years?
Not consistently.
Is it true that you stopped attending parenting classes once you gave birth to the children?
It is.
Is it true that you were distraught and became aggressive over time?
My children were taken from me with
Just yes or no,
respect.
please.
Yes.
Is it true that you wanted to commit suicide?
I was depressed. My children
Yes
were
or no,
taken
please.
from me.
Is it true that you skipped school?
I didn't hear her answer. When you said
Just yes or no. Just yes or no. What answers, please?
At times.
Yes or no, please.
Yes.
Okay. Is it true that you skipped school and had a truancy report filed on you?
A while ago.
Yes or no, please?
Yes.
Is it true that you passed the 10th grade without passing any classes in 9th grade, that you had failed all your classes in 9th grade?
Absolutely.
Is it true that you refused to go back to Creighton Hastings' house after the children were born?
Yes.
Is it true that you were, while you were living with your grandmother, you were underweight and sloppy looking? I was going to say disheveled.
The grandmother at this point would be clamoring.
These are questions I wanted to unkempt. I wanted to ask this of the grandmother, but I was like,
Objection. Screaming. I always sent her to school. Perfect.
No.
is it true that you've had several physically abusive relationships with boys?
No.
Isn't it true that there
Remember, she's 16 years old.
Yeah.
Sissy, some of your boyfriends beat you up, didn't they?
True.
Okay.
So no?
Okay.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were moved from foster home to foster home because of you were very angry with your caretakers?
No. I was moved because nobody wanted me.
Is it true that you like staying with your great-grandmother because you have more freedom?
No, because she's my family.
Just
The
yes or
only
no,
family.
just yes or no, please. Just yes or no answers.
No.
Is it true that you've expressed suicide thoughts before and after the birth of your children?
At times.
Yes or no, please?
No, I'll take at times. That's
Times?
okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Mark?
You don't have a job now,
No,
and you should be still in school. You haven't graduated.
not till I'm 18,
Okay. You live with a foster family,
unfortunately.
so and they won't take your children in their house with you.
No,
So you can't. You have no home of your own.
DSS won't let me go be with my grandmother.
The people who are fostering your children want to adopt them. Do you-
No, that's not true. It's the maternal grandmother.
Oh, well, that's okay.
What is-
Right. So currently your children are being fostered right now,
Unfortunately.
and the father's mother wants to adopt them. Does the father of your daughters live with his mother still?
I'm not aware.
But likely they have a family home life.
That's when
Stable.
I can go with my grandmother.
True, but your grandmother hasn't had the best health.
But she's still my family, she can still help me.
But these kids are also the other grandmother's family too.
Maybe she's not
Objection.
the best help.
But wouldn't
Wait,
you?
oh, there's an objection.
He's not asking questions, he's making statements.
But that's a cross.
Wait, you still can't make statements? You
He
still have
can.
to ask a
Yeah.
question.
No, you can make a statement.
In response?
Yes.
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 McCarthy. Cross. I know what's
You can do that, go ahead.
So, don't you think that they have a better life of chance of having a family life with the other grandmother than with yours, just because it's more stable?
Why do you want to do that?
Absolutely not.
Stop,
Stop.
stop, you went too far. You made a few good points. Know when to stop.
Okay, I'll shut
Okay,
up.
you got to just say she didn't have a job, she has no place to live. It looks like DCF, there's arguably whether she can actually be placed with grandmother, which that's what she wants, but that hasn't happened yet. So I would let it go
I'll stop.
at that
I want to stop.
So I have a final question to ask of you, Sissy. If this court were to allow you to have custody of your children, what would your plan be?
My plan would be to be the best mother that I can be and to love my children every day, and to never neglect my children or abuse my children like what was done to me.
Do you have a more specific plan than that? But that's fine if that's your plan.
That's my plan.
Okay. You can go. Bye. Thank you. Some quick closings, and we can actually finish today. Who wants to close for the children? Ima, Annette, or Tanya? And remember, just a quick closing, sort of in line with what evidence this court has heard. And remember, you're advocating for return to mother. Ima?
As you can see, that Sissy was neglected throughout her childhood. She has gone through a lot. She was always caring for her sisters, and she knows the values of the family, and she wants to make her own family, and she wants to have her own daughters with her, and the DCF should give Sissy a chance to have her family be reunited.
Okay, attorneys for Sissy, either Joe or Ed.
Do you have something right now?
A little bit. The termination of parental rights is a serious intrusion by the government to the family's rights. It has both statutory and constitutional dimensions. Massachusetts law sets out in its general laws, Chapter 210, Section 3, the factors that the court should look to in determining whether or not to terminate the rights of the parent. In this case, the Department of Children and Families has been unable to point to any of these specific factors in the termination of Sissy Harrison's rights as a parent. Sissy Harrison is 16 years old. The department has repeatedly failed her. They separated her from her sister, who she loved dearly, and her great-grandmother. She helped care for these sisters when they were very young, and it has left a lasting effect on her that she hasn't been able to stay united with them. The Department of Children and Families repeatedly moved her, interrupting her education year after year, and when she fell behind, they sent her to a technical high school where she didn't fit in. The department failed to act when she missed school for almost a year and a half. Now Sissy got pregnant. Now, when Sissy got pregnant, it was a department that was going to step up. They found a placement for her in a special program for pregnant girls, and she thrived there. But after having the babies, they were immediately taken from her. Without meeting any of the factors required for termination, the department now asks this court to take away her family. Again, Sissy lacks maturity and needs help. But that is what the department is for. There are programs where Sissy could live and learn to grow into being a responsible parent and a responsible member of society. She has nothing to forfeit these rights. This course must allow her the opportunity to maintain custody of her children and create the family that she deserves to have. This court and the department need to foster Sissy's growth and live up to the mandate demanded by the Commonwealth.
Trins for DCF, Digger Lane,
Although Sissy has had an unfortunate upbringing, she has a history of abuse and neglect. She has suffered emotional issues and has, as a result of this, she has continued to reject all services offered by DCF. She has not shown any signs of improvement or any commitment to bettering herself as she goes forward. It is only since the birth of her child that she really seems to have any interest in trying to keep her children. She herself, a mere child of 16, doesn't have any understanding of what a parent is and has had no role model helping her get there. And not only is she unfit as a child herself, but it is in the twins' best interest, because that needs to be looked at, to break the cycle of self-destruction that has gone through this family, this history of abuse and neglect, and the mother still having, Sissy still having these suicidal issues that are raising in her own head. And I believe that these children have a right to be given a home where they'll be afforded all the necessities to have a normal childhood and be reared in a loving family relationship where that can provide for them both educationally, financially, nurturing.
Okay, now stepping away from your roles, current parental unfitness. Let's discuss that first. Based on the evidence that the court heard, should the court adjudicate the children currently in need of care and protection because Sissy is currently unfit relative to both the custody cases that we've read and the statute and so forth? Current unfitness. You're nodding, that's why
I think yes. I mean, I think that the department needs to be involved to make sure that a plan is put into place.
And that's the sad part of this case, that yes, based on the facts, she is currently unfit. And sadly, maybe mainly because of the department's involvement with the family from when she was very young. But she is, according to the law, influencing evidence that she's currently unfit. But I wanted you guys to, this was a good case in terms of so many issues. Because while she might be currently unfit, what about the termination piece of it? And that's the best interest standard and 14 factors and so forth. So the court might adjudicate her in need of care and protection. And then there'd be other issues in terms of disposition. Maria?
For the termination of parental rights, I've noticed that it takes a real long time before that could happen. It could take, I had a case where it took almost 5 years.
And why is that?
I think it has a lot to do with, for example, the parents are giving a lot of chances to prove that they are fit and that they're ready to take their kids, but based on their mental and physical conditions that really affect the custody issues. Because I remember a case that I had, the kid was 5, mother had 2 or 3 of her older kids being removed and adopted, and the department took permanent custody of them, and still she was arguing that she wanted to have custody of this kid, and she was HIV positive, she was not consistent, she was always, during the visitation, she will sit down and like be like, get there late and say, you know what, I'm so tired that I can't even play. She will fall asleep in the middle of the visit because the kid was so active and she was so physically unfit that she couldn't keep up.
So if you were the juvenile court judge and based on the evidence and on the law, you know that you've got to find the children, you've got to adjudicate them in need of care and protection because the department has proved its case in terms of her unfitness, but you don't want to go to the worst case scenario under 11926 to terminate parental rights. But what would you then do? What are the dispositional alternatives that you know might that you think that you should do as a juvenile court judge? So you're going to adjudicate them in need of care protection, but then what?
Well, you have to assign services like Section 8, food stamps, everything else.
No, because remember the
DCF
definition of custody, DCF is custody. DCF would be doing those things, but I'm talking about the alternatives under 11926 that you, as juvenile court judge, have authority to do.
Can they just give up permanent custody to the department, or they already have?
Yeah, I mean, I can just do that. I certainly can just do that.
And then, because
Yeah,
they realize
current
it
fitness, you know, you haven't proved your case regarding termination, but giving permanent custody to the department and you know, follow up and so forth.
That would give the mom the right to a review and redetermination
Absolutely.
in 6 months.
And that's under 11926, so she could come back in 6 months. She may already be living with grandmom then. Maybe she got her GED by that point. Maybe grandma is doing perfectly in terms of her health and so forth, and they've got a plan. But in the meantime, there might be already things going on with the paternal grandmother as well that DCF has set in place. So if the children remain in DCF custody a year later, the 29B hearing is held on an annual basis by the court. Those are the permanency hearings. Not to be confused, and I notice sometimes some students got confused between the permanency hearing, and that sounds like, it almost sounds like a trial, but it isn't. It's an annual review under Section 29B, whereas the hearing on the merits that we just did is defined by Section 26 of the statute. That's the actual trial. So if I had terminated her rights, however, under 210 Section 3, all right, and which I have the authority to do as a dispositional alternative of this trial. Under 11926, I can adjudicate them in need of care and protection if she's unfit, and also, worst case scenario, terminate her parental rights as well. And if that happens, then there's no 29B review. You guys get that? Because the case won't be open, you know, barring, of course, appeal. The case isn't open anymore for review. Okay?
At least as far as the parent goes.
That's right.
You're going to talk again about the kids.
Absolutely.
And the court will stay involved with the kids
Yeah, as long as
until
they're in
adopted.
custody.
But, yeah, but as far as the parent goes.
Yeah, because at some point I also have to look at the plan for adoption, and that has to come before the court and be reviewed and allowed.
That was my question.
So,
That,
yeah.
that there's going to be another hearing and where you're going to review the plan for adoption.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's what
sometimes
you
it's
did.
together, though.
Yeah, absolutely,
Actually, I've been in a
Because
trial.
suppose in this case, the paternal grandmother had been more in the picture than what you guys have. That would have been a piece of the department's case as well. Not only that she's unfit, but that paternal grandmother, this is our plan for adoption, and involving this particular relative and so forth.
There would have been an adoption social worker already assigned.
Absolutely.
And working with whoever the adoptive resource was. And the adoptive social worker would come in and testify as to
Absolutely.
what the plan is
So
and
remember
they would
when
talk
Karen
about the placement.
and Jamie testified, and at the beginning, we were doing the qualifications. Again, you have different jobs as social worker, so you could be pre-adoptive and investigator and so forth.
I have a
So
question.
different. I know we're running out of time, so
How
Shins on Tuesday, then, no matter what, hoping that, Michael tells me he'll be here. Please have read the cases and the statute on Shins.
How much involvement would the father have had in reality in this?